What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for April 1st, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the podcast. This is no April Fool's joke. We are here on a Tuesday, April 1st, and it is Tuesday, so that means it's time for a little positivity / motivation. And today the quote comes from Neil Strauss. We've had quotes from him before, but I really like this one. And the quote is, "Usually what you wish for doesn't fall in your lap. It falls somewhere nearby, and you have to recognize it, stand up, and put in the time and work. It takes time to get it." And I love this quote. Absolutely love it. It really ties in with a lot of the things we've been talking about over the past few months. But nothing in this life is easy. At least, like, if you want anything and you want to have anything worth having, you need to work for it. It may come in a different package than what you want. It's not going to just fall out of the sky magically. And if you're not working for it, you're not going to appreciate it. And is it worth it if you're not working for it? And I love this because it really means you need to keep your eyes open everywhere. Opportunities are everywhere. It's what you do with them when you get them. You need to be proactive. You need to identify what those opportunities are. You need to invest in yourself, invest in whatever you want to do, whether it's a relationship, your job, losing weight, hobbies, running a race, whatever it is you want to do, you need to invest in yourself. So I look at it like it's not going to just magically come out and say, oh, here you go. You need to work at it. You need to be on the lookout and take advantage of the opportunities when they do present themselves and just work at it. And I think that a lot of times is where people just expect things to be instantaneous, and it's not. You got to work for it. I get all the time like, man, I really enjoy your podcast, but you get up at 4 a.m. Yes, I get up at 4 a.m. I hit the gym. I work out. And then I do all this before I start my day job, before the kids even get up out of bed. But to me, it's worth it. That's the work I'm putting in. And over the course of 3 years, I've seen the fruits of that labor. I mean, it's not near where I want it to be, but putting in that work. And a lot of these things, like this day in Philly sports history, was not my first podcast. I started with Back to the Future, and it was a weekly sort of thing. But the opportunity kind of came up, and this has opened up so many doors. So you never know where that opportunity or where that thing that you want is going to land, because it's not going to fall right on your lap. It might be a couple miles down the road, and you have to keep your eyes open for it. So like I said, I really like this quote. Hopefully it's something you can take with you on your week. Usually what you wish for doesn't fall on your lap. It falls somewhere nearby, and you have to recognize it, stand up, and put in the time and work. It takes time to get it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be overnight. You got to put in the work. And I think so many people today don't want to put in the work. They just want that instant gratification. And I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. So be proactive. Go look for your opportunities. Go look for that wish that you want and make it happen. And go have a great week. Hopefully that is something you can take away with it. All right, let's do some quick housekeeping like we always do to start off the show. It is April. We've turned the page on March. Thank you for all your support. Lots of feedback, positive feedback for the Women's Big Five Hall of Fame Spotlight. A lot of people saying thank you for recognizing them and everything. And if I learned anything throughout the month doing the research and trying to spotlight and highlight, it's that we need to do a better job of spotlighting women's sports. It was very, very difficult to find information on some of these ladies, and they 100% deserve. So do yourselves a favor and or do everyone a favor and do the research and let's help get this to be mainstream. Let's continue that momentum that was there last season at the end of the NCAA tournament for the women and then the WNBA season, because to me it was a travesty that it was that difficult to find information out on some of these women who've done so much and had such an impact on the game. So there's my little soapbox TED Talk for the day. But throughout the month of April, we're going to spend the next 6 days talking with Lenny Wagner about Walter French. Then we're going to get into players who are missing rings that played a good chunk of their career here in Philadelphia. And then we'll end the month with the Eagles draft preview and spotlight the top picks for each of the rounds of the NFL draft. We'll do 8 and above, and then we'll do, now it's 7 rounds in the NFL. Now we'll do the top 8 and above, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way through the end of the month. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Continue to spread the word. Like I said, lots of feedback on the Women's Big Five Hall of Fame, which really makes me happy that there was a ton of feedback on that. But lots of great things happening, so let's continue to grow it. All right, today is the day. Today is Tush Push Vote Day. And let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I said, should it be banned? Not surprisingly, 93% of you said absolutely not. And shout out to Bill from Flowertown, who Bill is not necessarily an Eagles fan, but is a Chicago fan, but went to Temple with him, and he lives in the area now. He said called me out on it, which I appreciate, saying you're asking the wrong question, because should the rule have been changed in the first place back when Tom Brady kind of they let it go with being able to push the player from behind? And I don't necessarily disagree with him. And the defensive players are not allowed to use the same thing, where they're not allowed to push people through the line. That is a very, very valid reason for banning the tush push. However, nobody is talking about that, other than maybe Sean McVay is the only one that says, well, technically, it's kind of against the rules. Defensive players don't have that same advantage. That, I think, is, to me, the bigger issue here. And listen, if it gets banned today, it gets banned. I think the Eagles will be fine with or without it. But the fact of the matter is, Sean McDermott from Buffalo, who uses unsuccessfully in the AFC Championship game, uses the tush push, says, oh, I'm dead set against it. It's an injury risk. There is zero data to support that the tush push is an injury risk. So I get that it's a concern, this, that, and the other, but there is no legitimate data that supports people get hurt using the tush push. So that's bogus. Pace of play. I don't understand how that messes with the pace of play any worse than a traditional quarterback sneak. You got Frankie Louvu jumping over 5 times in a row or whatever it was in the NFC Championship game. That's on them. That's the defense. That's not on the tush push in general. So I really don't buy that. And then going back to Sean McVay, he was like, well, it doesn't look like a football play. Really? Like, is that what we're doing now, NFL? We're worried about what things look like? To me, it just all comes off super petty. Listen, I don't blame them one bit. If they can get this thing banned because the Eagles have been so successful at it, more power to it. But to me, the whole process just sounds whiny and weak, that, we can't stop it, so we need to ban it. And if there was a legitimate injury concern or something, like if they were more focused on the actual rule and how it used to be, and you go back to Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart when I guess it was a championship game when Reggie Bush pushed Matt Leinart in. I get all that, but nobody's talking about that. I guess that's the concern or thing I have. Like, if you want to do it by the book, like Bill says, 100%, I would support it and be like, you know what? Either give the defensive guys the chance to do that, or just outlaw pushing players with the ball 100% either way. Nobody's talking about that, though. It's about the injuries. It's about this. It's about that. And it just sounds petty and stupid, but this is where we are. So we'll find out tomorrow if the tush push is, in fact, banned. Again, I don't know, one way or the other. But, and I usually wouldn't do this, but go to Philly Goat. They have, if you're my age or around my age and you played Tecmo Bowl or Tecmo Super Bowl, you know the boxes came up with the plays. Of course, Philly Goat has a Tush Push Tecmo Bowl style shirt. So if this is the last day for the Tush Push, go get them before they sell out because I will be buying one myself. So go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order and get your Tush Push Tecmo Bowl shirt. In honor of the Tush Push, you can either celebrate the fact that it is staying or you can just, I remember the Tush Push back. But Philly Goat, of course, has got you covered. So be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off. All right, Phil's home opener yesterday is an interesting one. They won 6-1. Christopher Sanchez was solid, 5 1/3 innings, 7 Ks. Hurt himself somewhat running to first base. He stayed in the game, looked like he was fine. Schwarber, Max Kepler, and Castellanos all went deep. But is it concerning that they cannot score runs off of starting pitchers? And is that by design? I'm not sure why Bud Black took the starter out for Colorado when he did either. He was cruising. But I don't know. They're tearing up bullpens, but they cannot get anything going against starting pitchers 4 games here into the season. It was good to see Trey Turner pinch hit and worked a walk, and it did look good seeing pitches and working the count. Got down 0-2, was able to come back and work a walk. So while the back is a little concerning, he mentioned it might be a hip. The fact that he's not really hitting per se, he's seen a ton of pitches, which is good. That's what you want, especially if he's going to be hitting in that leadoff spot. But they're off today. You're back at it Wednesday. Zach Wheeler's on the mound. And then Thursday, we get our old buddy Taiwan on the mound. But that does lead to today's question of the day. Should we be concerned that the Phillies have not done well against starting pitchers on the Nationals and Rockies? I think if they played the Braves or even the Dodgers, it'd be okay. I get it. But they've struggled now against the Nationals and the Rockies through 4 games against their starting pitching. Is that cause for concern, or is it just whatever? We're 4 games into the season. It's a long season. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. I gotta say, I want to see how they come out tomorrow. I'm starting to get concerned about it. They're doing great against the bullpens. So, a win is a win, especially for this season where it's kind of do or die. The Mets are off to a slow start. The Braves are off to a slow start. Maybe they can take advantage of that and build a little cushion here in the NL East. But are you concerned that they're not hitting starting pitching? Let me know either on my social media or the Back to the Future voice and text line. The dead cat bounce continues for the Flyers. They won again yesterday, winning 2-1. Matvei Michkov, 2 assists. He's been on fire since John Tortorella has gotten fired. And I know people are concerned with their lottery status, but the Flyers do have 3 first-round picks this year, so I think they'll be okay. They have 6 games left. They're currently tied they're likely going to get at least a top 10 pick. So whatever. Let's continue the dead cat bounce, the growth of Michkov, making a late surge toward the Rookie of the Year voting. Flyers are off till Saturday, but this team has been hot since John Tortorella has gotten fired. Michkov has been on a tear, which kind of makes you question, was Tortorella holding him back? I don't know. I'm anxious to see who the new coach is going to be. Your team, your town, your Philadelphia 76ers are back in action tonight against the Knicks up in Madison Square Garden. Some good news for the Sixers last night as the Nets won. They currently are up a game and a half now on the Nets for the 5th spot. And they're only 2 back of the Pelicans, who just shut Zion Williamson down for the season for that 4th spot. Things are kind of working out. Again, you expect maybe one team to move up. So you want to try to avoid that 6th spot so you don't move down. But the higher they move up, the better the odds are that they're going to keep that first-round pick. So we'll continue to monitor that as we go. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Lots of great things happening with their sports fan network. Go to clashingconferences.com for details. See how you can get involved. Check out their podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Steven and the crew over there are doing great things. And, of course, go to Philly Goat, get your Tush Push shirt, and use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, today we are going to go back to 1985, and this is definitely not an April Fool's joke. On this day in 1985, it was one of the biggest and most shocking upsets in NCAA tournament history. The Villanova Wildcats, as 9.5-point underdogs, shocked the number one team in the country, the Georgetown Hoyas, 66-64 to win the national championship. To win this game, Villanova needed to play a perfect game, and they pretty much did, shooting 78.6% from the floor, 22 for 28. They did take advantage a few times during the game of there being no shot clock in college and kind of ran a four corners offense and milked the clock over 45 seconds quite a few times. There was a shot clock instituted in the NCAA the next year. Dwayne McClain and Ed Pickney had 17 and 16 each, respectively, and they held Patrick Ewing to 14 points, which Patrick Ewing was just the dominant player of the year. This Final Four was interesting, though. Everybody talks this year about being all four number one seeds for only the second time. This Final Four included three teams from the Big East, Memphis being the only one. Villanova, though, became the lowest seed to ever win the national championship. They became the second Big Five team to win a national championship, joining the 1954 LaSalle Explorers. To make their run through the tournament, they beat Dayton, Michigan, Maryland, UNC, and then Memphis in the Final Four before taking down Georgetown. Just, you want to talk about a magical run and running the gauntlet. The Villanova Wildcats in 1985 did just that, becoming the lowest seed to win the national championship and shocking the world with a 66-64 win over the heavily favored Georgetown Hoyas to win the second national championship in Big Five history. First in Villanova history, they would go on to win two more under Jay Wright pretty recently. All right, so been talking about Lenny Wagner, his book, Playing with the Best, One Man's Journey Through the Golden Age of Sports, is available wherever you get your books. Also available on Audible. But Lenny Wagner, before everybody knows Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders were two sports stars when we were younger. We've talked about Greasy Neal winning a World Series with the Reds and also leading the Eagles as coach to an NFL championship. But before all of this, it was Walter French who starred for the A's and the Pottsville Maroons, winning a championship with both, even though the one with the Maroons was stripped by the NFL. So today, we talked to Lenny about just how did Walter French get involved with the A's, how did he end up on Connie Mack's team after he was dismissed from the from Army, from West Point, due to his grades, and how did he end up in Philadelphia. So Lenny today talks about that and his early days as a member of the Philadelphia Athletics.
Good. So in the years leading up to, so he started with the Athletics. Let me take a step back. He met Mike Drennan, who was Connie Mack's chief scout, on a train ride back from the Army-Navy game in 1921. And so when Walter was dismissed from Army from West Point for his academic issues, Drennan started to approach him at that point. So he joined the Athletics in 1923. Played in the minors. Connie Mack sent him to Williamsport in the New York Penn League, where he was like the best player in the league. And he came up to the Athletics at the end of the 23 season. Like happens today, they bring up minor leaguers at the end of the year, and had moderate amount of success. In 24, Connie Mack sent him back to Shreveport, which was another Athletics minor league team. Again, he set the league on fire, and would have come back to the Athletics in 24, but he injured himself in the last game he played for Shreveport, sliding into home, stealing home and tore his ankle up, and so was not able to join the Athletic. That was the end of that season. But in 25, then he makes the team, plays in maybe half the team's games, mostly used as a pinch hitter and pinch runner. But towards the end of the season, he gets really hot. And for the last month, Connie Mack puts him in the starting lineup, and he goes off, right? He has a great, this last month of the season. And then Mack tells him that in 1926, he's going to be one of the regular outfielders for the Athletics. So Mack then shortly after trades Bing Miller, who was one of his regular left fielders. So it's obvious he's going to be bringing Walter in.
Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. And like I said, I mean, the fact that this dude basically got kicked out of the Army, out of West Point, came, just randomly met this dude on a train after an Army-Navy game, ended up in the Athletics farm system, and ended up making a name for himself with the big club in Philly is amazing. Tomorrow, we'll talk with Lenny about some of his early successes with the A's and then losing his starting position to a Major League Baseball legend. That is coming up tomorrow. Thank you, Lenny, for joining us today. On this day in 1985, Villanova beat Georgetown 66-64 to win the national championship. Probably the biggest upset, or one of the biggest upset, because a 16 seed did beat, I forget which one, but Arizona as the number 1 seed did lose. But this was for everything. So you got to put this up there. And if you want to talk, we're talking being concerned on the Back to the Future voice and text line about the Phillies not being able to hit starting pitching today. But if you want to talk, is the Villanova beating Georgetown for the national championship the biggest upset in NCAA tournament history? I think it's got to be top 3. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. A little bonus here on a Tuesday. We'll have all the details about the Tush Push vote tomorrow. Phil's off as they get ready to resume that series on Wednesday with the Rockies. Will the dead cat bounce continue for the Flyers? And then will the Sixers increase their distance between the Brooklyn Nets? All of that is coming up tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, though. And just remember, usually what you wish for doesn't fall in your lap. It falls somewhere nearby, and you have to recognize it, stand up, put in the time, and work. It takes time to get it. Nothing is easy. Nothing is free, especially if it's worth it. Nothing worth it is easy. And that's what I like to think, and that's what I like to go through it. So hopefully you can take that through your week. We'll have more with Lenny Wagner tomorrow. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for April 1st, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.